So hello everybody, how you doing? This is Lakers Talk with Gerald. This is actually going to be episode number 98, everybody. All right, tonight, everybody, we are going to be discussing the Lakers victory against the Utah Jazz. We did clinch the number one seed in the West, so that is a big deal. That is great. That's something that we haven't done in a long time. Yeah, so that's a big deal right there in itself. That is a great thing. We're gonna have to celebrate that. You know, it took me a minute to kind of like realize that for a minute because there were some points in this game I found myself getting frustrated. I found myself, upset at times just because I thought the Lakers could start off better and several other things. But let's just talk about the topics for tonight. Well, before I do that, as I mentioned, I'm recording live on audio through podbean.com, right? So right now it's live, meaning I'm recording late. I'm on the East Coast actually, so it's 1:40 in the morning. On the Pacific Coast, on the West Coast, it should be about 10:30, 10:40 p.m. Okay, so if you guys are up right now, you're listening, you can call in, you can comment, and I will interact with you and read your comments and just, make it a part of the show, make you guys a part of the show. So I appreciate you guys for joining me. Again, I'm going to go over the topics now that I'm going to cover. First of all, Lakers got that number one. We got the victory. So I'm just going to talk about the game, a little bit of recap, a little bit of review, tell you things that I feel about the game and how I feel like, everybody played. I'm going to talk about, we had a little bit of a slow start, so that's part of what I'm going to talk about also. Anthony Davis balled out, showed up, showed why he's a superstar, showed why we traded for him. Brandon Ingram and gave up Lonzo and gave up Josh Hart. We had to get him. He's a superstar. So we're going to talk about his game. Excuse me. We saw up that number one spot for the Western Conference. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to kind of talk about the playoff matchups that we can expect for the first round, how we think the seeding is going to go, who we want to see in the second round, conference finals, all that kind of that jazz. Like how I did that, all that jazz. Yeah. All right, so everybody, starting off, we got that victory against the Utah Jazz. We started off slow. That's the part that I was kind of saying a minute ago that I was getting a little upset. I was just frustrated because we started off slow again, just like we did against the Toronto Raptors. And against the Toronto Raptors, we started off, they were up 13-0. In this game, Utah started off 7-0. And I just didn't like our early play. It's like the energy's not quite there. We're kind of taking our time, trying to get in our mode. And you can tell the other team, Utah, is snapping, they're moving, they're getting to their spots. Their hands are moving, they're getting those 50-50 balls. And I believe they hit two 3-pointers and a 2-point shot early on to put them up really fast. But I just didn't like the way we started off. We eventually kind of, for the most of the first half, it was back and forth. We seemed like we couldn't stop them from scoring. Every time they went into their motion, it seemed like they scored pretty easily on us. We were kind of a little bit out of sorts in the beginning. We would get we're getting turnovers. We were matching them play by play for the most part. Up and down, turnover here, they would score, we would score. They'd get up by 5 or so, we would come back and tie it. It kept going back and forth like that for a little bit in the first half. And so the first half, we did get the lead at halftime. We had a 2-point lead, even though it seemed like we were not going to have the lead at halftime. It looked like we were going to lose, or at least be down by 5, 6, 7 points or something like that. But we did hang in there. Anthony Davis is the one that pretty much kept us. He was our anchor tonight. First half, he had 24 points in the first half alone. He took 14 shots in the first quarter alone. So that's double the amount of shots that he took in the entire Toronto game. And he did that in the first quarter. So 14 shots for Anthony Davis in the first quarter, 13 points. The whole entire game against Toronto, like I said, he only had 7 total shots. So he was super aggressive, came out trying to look for his shot. He was doing it in the flow, but he was making sure to be super aggressive in this game, and that's what was doing it for us. Anthony Davis, balling, and then he was getting to the free throw line. And now, uncharacteristically of Davis, he actually missed, I think, 3 free throws, if not more. I'm gonna have to actually check that stat. He ended up making a decent amount of them too, but for Anthony Davis, he's normally about 85% free throw shooting for us this year. And so most times he knocks them down at a nice rate. So him missing those 3 free throws was a little uncharacteristic of him, but he still did very well. As I mentioned, he had 24 points in the first half, and he actually set that's a record, or one of the records for the Lakers when it comes to the amount of 20-point halves in a season. So I think that made 21 for him this year, 21 20-point halves, and he's actually the last person to do that on that list was Kobe Bryant. So he's third. I think Kobe Bryant has the first and second amount of 20-point halves in a season for the Lakers. So in Anthony Davis's first season here, he's already putting himself in the record books for the Lakers. So that's a beautiful thing. Anthony Davis is showing that why he's one of those generational talents and why we gave up the farm to get him. So Anthony Davis, at the end of the day, he ended up having 42 points in the game, just the whole game. And even in the fourth quarter, they always say that Anthony Davis, and even the stats show that he doesn't score. He scored most of his points in the first 3 quarters, and then he doesn't really get many points in the fourth quarter. But even that was dispelled today, because in the fourth quarter, he was balling, hitting some 3-pointers. He had a step-back 3-pointer on Gobert. Actually went through the legs, stepped back, shot it, got an and 1 from the 3-point line, had a 4-point play. So, I mean, hey, look, Anthony Davis, 6'10", 6'11", give or take, knocking down jump back, step back threes. What? That's what I'm talking about, man. Anthony Davis balling, keep doing what he's doing. We're gonna be something to deal with. They're gonna have to deal with us in these playoffs. Yeah, man, it is what it is. Anthony Davis, just a baller. So great for him. 42 points, like I said. I think he had 7 rebounds. They only credited him with 1 block shot, but I saw at least 2 block shots. He had at least 2 steals, 4 assists, just balling, doing great things. All right. So Anthony Davis, I give him a chip for that. Next, with that victory, the Lakers solidify the number 1 seed in the West. Okay. The Clippers are 6 games behind them. Lakers don't have to win another game. They already got the number 1 seed. They're definitely going to play whoever the 8th seed is. So that calls for a celebration. Early in the game, I wasn't really too concerned with that stat. But now that I think about it, it's been at least 6 years since we made the playoffs, period. Since we made the playoffs. And longer than that, since we had the number 1 seed in the Pacific Division. This is big time. This is huge for the Lakers. I'm going to celebrate it. Like I said, at first, I was just kind of blowing it off. But no, I'm going to celebrate it. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to celebrate. I got this little bottle right here. This is some champagne or Prosecco bubbly, whatever you want to call it. Look, I'm going to pop this right here because guess what? We're going to celebrate. I need a little something to help get this open because this ain't no joke. All right, well, we'll get this open here in a minute, but we're going to pop it and celebrate it. We're going to do that together. All right, so good job in the Lakers getting that number 1 seed, and I popped it. There we go. Cheers to you guys out there. All right, just got to have a little bit, celebrate, excuse me. Everybody, hey, look, got to celebrate. Whenever you get these, I always say, guys, you guys been listening to my podcast. You guys know I always talk about milestones. I always talk about goals. I talk about life events. I integrate different things, because Lakers basketball, but it's also Lakers talk with who? Me, Gerald. So part of what I do and how I am, I'm always reflecting on things, right? Milestones, goals. This is a milestone. It's not the end goal. The end goal is a championship. But a milestone for the Lakers is locking up that number 1 seed. Now, normally in a non-pandemic bubble environment, um, non-pandemic bubble environment, the number one seed would really account for a lot. It would be home court advantage, for every team in the West, whoever you play. Now, of course, in the bubble, there really isn't a home court advantage because everybody's playing in the same arena, no fans. But the thing that it does account for is the matchups, who we play. With that number one seed, we're guaranteed to play the number 8 seed. Usually that's a lesser team. Now, the West is so deep, that lesser team is going to be still going to be a tough out. But the Lakers got, they got what it takes to get it done. But with that, the Lakers do have that number one seed celebration. Everybody celebrate this milestone. Never take things for granted because, when you do good things, you got to let people know. You got to toot your own horn. And even if the Lakers don't toot it, I'm tooting it for them. So toot. Yep, I just did that. Yeah, go ahead and talk about me, but it's all good. So good job, Lakers. Appreciate y'all getting it done. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, the rest of the crew. Rob Pelinka. I'm going to give Rob Pelinka some stuff because Rob Pelinka definitely deserves Executive of the Year. I mean, hands down. That's the way I see it. He deserves Executive of the Year because remember when Magic left, everybody was just talking. Every ESPN, I don't matter what sports analysts and, all these guys were just talking straight crap about the Lakers, saying we were a dumpster fire, saying we were just horrible. Everything was just horrible, talking about our owners, talking about our GM, talking about Magic, talking about just every aspect of our organization, how we're so horrible, player development, how could we give up to all the young guys, how could we do this, oh, we lost out and we let Kawhi Leonard play us, and we missed out on getting all these free agents, and then we had to just pick up all these random people, and then we picked up guys like Danny Green, and then we picked up, Dwight Howard eventually, when Cousins got hurt, and we picked up all these guys that we re-signed, JaVale McGee, we re-signed Rajon Rondo, all these guys that were just saying, oh man, this is horrible. How are you Lakers are just picking up all of just random, people that just get in trouble and make mistakes. Like, cause they talk about JaVale McGee, they talk about Rondo, they talk about, Dwight Howard being a problem person. And how are this team gonna fit? How are they gonna mesh? Well, guess what? Rob Pelinka did that, put together, he signed a lot of our players to two-year contracts. That's going to really help a lot in the mentality of a team. Knowing guys are going to be there and knowing they know themselves that they're going to be here a while and they're not looking over their shoulders trying to play for a contract. When they just sign one-year contracts all the time, guys are looking over their shoulders. It's hard to play as a team and have that camaraderie when you're constantly looking over your shoulder wondering, hey, I got to get my stats because I got to get signed again. Am I going to be with the Lakers? Are they loyal to me? All these questions go in your mind. So he signed a lot of those guys to at least 2-year contracts. So he signed Caruso, first time getting the contract. I believe he signed him for 2 years. He signed Danny Green. I believe he got 2 years. He also signed Rajon Rondo to a 2-year. I believe JaVale McGee also got 2. So, we got guys that know that they're part of the squad, know that they're going to be here, and we're going to have this core and that's going to be together for at least 2 years. And we got Anthony Davis. We had to give up all the young squad. All these guys are going to be great. Brandon Ingram ended up making an All-Star game, team this year, but he's still not Anthony Davis. We had to do what we had to do. We got a perennial All-Star in Anthony Davis. He's a two-way transcendent player. He's a great offensive player, great instincts, rebounder, tip-ins, lobs, 20-footers, three-pointers. And then on defensive end, he's getting steals. He's getting 2.5 blocks a game. He's leading the Lakers in steals, leading the Lakers in blocks, leading the Lakers in free throw percentage. He's our go-to guy. When we need a bucket, when we're going to get fouled, he's the one we want to go to the free throw line. So, Anthony Davis, just balling out, doing a great job. So, back to what I was saying is just Rob Pelinka put all that together. Rob Pelinka did a great job, especially after they dogged us, the media, in the beginning of the season, and they said how bad we were, blah, blah, blah. But, Rob Pelinka, damn good job. Kudos to you. Executive of the year, in my opinion. I hope he gets it. I hope he actually gets it this year. So, man, I just wanted to toot his horn and talk about him a little bit. Welcome, Gringo Loco, for entering this live. I appreciate you joining. Feel free at any time to, if you want to make any comments, you want to come in there and you want to talk about any subject, just go ahead and let me know, and we can just get with it, man. We can talk about it. So, so far I've talked about the Lakers' victory against Utah. Talked a little bit about the flow of the game, what I thought about it. I talked about our slow start. Talked about Anthony Davis and how he went off of 42 points and just balling out, doing all these great things. So 42 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. He should have had 2 blocks. I mean, they only gave him 1 in the stats, but I saw at least 2 blocks. But hey, it is what it is. I also talked about how the Lakers sewed up the #1 seed in the West, first time in a bunch of years. Haven't made the playoffs in 6 years. Great job. Next, I want to talk about the playoff matchups, what it's looking like. Okay, so right now the Lakers got the #1 seed. Right now, and the #8 seed is Memphis. But if you guys don't know, in the bubble, there's this, they set it up to where you got all these other teams from 9th all the way to 13th seed in the West that are playing for that 8th seed. So basically, whoever the 9th seed team is, as long as they're within 4 games of the 8th seed, there's going to be a 2-game play-in to get that 8th seed. For example, right now there's Memphis in #8, and I believe it's Portland right now that's in #9. It's going to be so close. We still got 6 or 5 more games, give or take, that these numbers can change. Whoever that 9th seed person could easily change because they're all playing each other in this bubble. So what would happen is, whoever is 9th place, so right now it's Portland, they would play Memphis for a play-in to get that 8th seed. Whoever the 9th seed is got to beat the 8th seed twice to get in, to get that 8th seed. If you are the 8th seed, you just got to win one of those games, and then you're going to solidify and keep that 8th spot. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and here's where it gets tricky. Memphis, as it stands right now, they are barely holding on to that 8th seed. I think teams like Portland Trailblazers, even San Antonio, that's right there too. I think if they had to play Memphis twice, or if they got, for example, if one of those teams beat out Memphis and got that 8th seed, and Memphis had to be the 9th seed, I don't think Memphis would beat one of those teams twice. I don't think Memphis would beat Portland twice, and I don't think they would beat San Antonio twice, because San Antonio is just such a well-coached team. So I think Memphis is in a really tough spot. I think they are probably in a real bad predicament. I don't think they're going to hold on to that 8th spot, is basically what I'm saying. I think Portland or San Antonio, most likely Portland. And now Portland's going to be that's going to be a hard matchup for us in the first round. We are overall a better team than Portland, and we should definitely get that win. We should definitely get that victory, but it's going to be tough. We got Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, just ballers. Both of these guys are all-star caliber guys that just can, these 2 guards are the ones, these quick and good shooting guards are the ones that give us the most problems. Our front court matchups, that's probably our weakest matchups there. So that's going to be, if we have to play Portland in the first round, that's not going to be an easy task. We're going to use, Lakers, LeBron James, Anthony Davis going to have to play a good amount of minutes. We're going to have to play well. They could stretch us to 6 games or something like that. So I really, it's going to be what it is. If we're going to win a championship, we're just going to have to go through all the good teams, man. If we're going to do it, we're going to earn it. All right. So the other possibilities, the other thing that I'm worrying about is the second round matchups. So let's say we play Portland, we get past Portland. One thing that I'm a little worried about, when the season ended or stopped, back in March, the way it looked was perfect. The way the seedings were, Utah was, I think, or actually Houston was actually at the 6th seed, which was surprising, which would have worked out perfectly for the Lakers, because that would have meant, Lakers would have played either like Memphis in the first round. That should have been a decent matchup. Then the Lakers would have had to either play Utah or I think it was OKC, one of those two teams in the second round, which would have been the perfect thing. And then, they wouldn't have had to play Houston or the Clippers in the second round. Now, before, the Clippers would have to probably face Houston. They would have to face Houston, and they would have to battle it out, and the Lakers wouldn't have to play both of those teams. But right now, as it stands, since the bubble started, Houston has been winning a couple games, and they're currently now in the 5th position, which doesn't bode well. I don't want them to hold the 5th position or the 4th position. I either want them to go up, which I think that's most likely, for them to go up and get that number 3 spot from Denver. I say that because if they keep that 4th or 5th, that means the Lakers would have to see them in the second round, and that is not a good look. If they had to play Houston in the second round and then they'd have to play the Clippers in the third, my goodness, we would be worn out. Houston they're a tough team. They got 2 former MVPs recently in the last 5 or something years. These guys are, Westbrook and Harden are ballers. They're ballers, and that would be a tough playoff series for us. It would be one that would be a hard fought. We would have to play our butts and tails off. So I don't want to see that. I'm hoping that doesn't come to fruition. I hope Houston keeps playing, and I hope they somehow get that 3rd seed. Since we already got the number 1 seed locked up, I'm hoping they get that 3rd seed. Now, we still have to play Houston. Our next game is against OKC. And then the game, I believe we have back-to-back games. I believe it's going to be on Wednesday, Thursday, give or take. But we're going to have to play OKC, and then we're going to have to play Houston. And then we're still going to eventually play Denver. So we're going to be playing these teams. It remains to be seen how much, LeBron and Anthony Davis is going to be playing these last 5 games that we have left. I think they're going to play a lot of minutes, but at the same time, I think, you maybe curtail them, slow down their minutes towards the last several games. Just I want to make sure they're ready and they got their feet underneath them. They got their shot. They got everything else. But I think they're going to kind of slow down their minutes. I believe they're going to try to work in some of our new guys, from, Deion Waiters to J.R. Smith to also Markieff Morris. Also, so all those guys, we're going to try to work them in and kind of get them into the playing rotation, so that way when the playoff comes, when we need them, they would have played enough with our rotation. And our starters, a little bit with LeBron, a little bit with the backup and Caruso and Kuzma and all them. So so that's gonna kind of I talked about a good amount here. I don't think I'm going to keep this a long episode. I'm going to keep this somewhat short. We're going on 24 minutes now. I want to let you guys know how you can reach me. I tell you guys what, please, if you guys are listening, you watching right now, so hey, Gringo Loco, how you doing? If you can subscribe or follow me on Podbean. That way when I put out episodes, you'll see my episodes, and appreciate you following. And also, if I also put YouTube videos out there, so I'm recording this also. I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel. It's Lakers Talk with Gerald. So make sure you subscribe to that also. And you can also follow my podcast on iTunes or Apple Radio, Spotify, of course, Podbean. But newly, I'm also now on iHeartRadio. So if you listen to that podcast, that app, go ahead and check me out there. Follow on each one of those ones. Appreciate you guys. I think that's going to do it. I'm going to wrap this up. All right, everybody. I'm officially out.